Given the towering corruption and aggression that politics invites, from governments and central banks inflating our currency, to taxation, to fascist so-called regulations, to even funding foreign governments, is it possible that an ally and advisor to FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, was part of a direct back-channel communications portal with leftist activists and the White House? Come to think of it, is it possible that relatively speaking, is merely an indication of a much larger problem? Hi everyone, I'm Gardner Goldsmith for MRC-TV. Here's the story. Beyond the seemingly ready-made crypto-strangling legislation that Senator Liz Warren, the Democrat of Massachusetts, and other Constitution-flouters pushed within days of the November 11th FTX bankruptcy announcement, one of the most curious and disturbing facets of the Ukraine-tied, media-adored, and now collapsed cryptocurrency exchange has actually just come to light. On December 22nd, Politico's Ryan Lizza, Rachel Bade, and Eugene Daniels reported that a close ally and advisor to FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF, was part of a direct back-channel communications portal with leftist activists and the White House. And curiously, the members of that FTX White House leftist activist portal appear to have shut it down the day after FTX filed for bankruptcy. The figure involved with the controversy is named Sean McElwee, who, as Politico reports, quote, in 2018 founded Data for Progress, DFP, a progressive think tank with an emphasis on influencing public policy through polling. You know, if the name Data for Progress evokes thoughts of another organization, the John Podesta-created Center for American Progress, CAP, and its George Soros-funded political action group, the Center for American Progress Action Fund, that's CAP Action, well, that is possible because McElwee is said to have become connected with Bankman-Fried via mutual friend and leftist data guru David Shor, who is a senior fellow with the Center for American Progress. According to Politico, quote, more recently, McElwee became a close political ally and advisor to FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. They were connected through Shor, according to a friend of both men. Why is this significant? McElwee had easy access to the White House and the press, and he made sure that they had access to him. He kept an open Slack channel at DFP that became a rolling conversation between McElwee, Biden administration officials, and some well-known reporters, a kind of journalist for the early 2020s, which of course looks eerily like the easy access that the feds, from the FBI to the DHS to the CIA, had to censorious leftists working at Twitter. And that might make one pause to wonder how well-known reporters, as they put it, can be so closely involved with heretofore non-public communications channels that not only are tied to left-wing so-called influencers like McElwee, but to Biden officials and to Bankman-Fried. And of course, by extension, to the data maestro, CAP senior fellow, Mr. Shor, all of whom have vested interests in steering public policy and steering the reporting on public policy. And, of course, there is yet another facet of this how strange it is category to mention. The Politico team notes, quote, on November 12th, the day after FTX filed for bankruptcy and SBF, that's Bankman-Fried, resigned as CEO, McElwee abruptly shuttered the Slack channel. 6 days later, he and Data for Progress began negotiating his exit from the firm he had built. Whoops! Adds the Politico trio, quote, then on December 13th, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York unsealed an 8-count indictment against SBF. The first 7 counts, which were about financial crimes, garnered the most attention. But it was the 8th count that turned heads in Washington, alleging a straw donor scheme in which SBF, Bankman-Fried, funneled corporate money to candidates and committees through third parties. And SDNY, that's the Southern District of New York, alleged that SBF had help. SBF and, quote, others known and unknown, end quote, the indictment says, made contributions, quote, in the names of other persons. And of course, as I reported on December 19th, quote, it appears as if a large portion of Bankman-Fried's unbalanced FTX ledger was funded via the U.S. subsidized government of Ukraine. And that facilitated Sammy's $40 million in campaign contributions to Democrats, making him the second biggest donor to the Dems in the 2021-2022 cycle, behind the all-enlightened George Soros and ahead of Michael Ban the Guns Bloomberg. And it does seem odd that once the election was over, FTX suddenly got exposed for all this alleged fraud. So adding straw donations to the indictments might make a lot of sense. And is there merit to wonder if any of these participants in these back-channel communications were tied to the straw donations mentioned in that 8th indictment? The Politico does engage in speculation, but only provides unnamed sources to back it up. Quote, in the race to figure out who might have helped SBF make straw donations, McAwee's name was at the top of the list. The leadership at DFP suddenly feared they could be in the middle of a much bigger scandal. Nobody at DFP makes more than $200,000 a year, yet several employees who worked for McAwee made thousands of dollars in campaign contributions in 2022. One employee, Ethan Winter, DFP's lead analyst, made nearly $31,000 in donations, which a source at DFP said was more than a quarter of his salary. On Tuesday morning, David Friedlander reported in New York Magazine that McAwee had pressured a DFP employee to be a straw donor. On Wednesday, sources at DFP identified Winter as that employee and told us that he had resigned. Winter's resignation was first reported by CNBC. Moral outrage is due, and it's been long overdue. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Please keep in mind that if you watch us on Rumble, they don't censor us there. So we'd love to see you there. We'll see you subscribing, hopefully, and we'll see you hit that plus button because that helps us within the algorithms. More people can see the videos. We'll also see you on YouTube, where, yes, they do censor us. And we'll see you on Rumble, Rumble, YouTube, Parler, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and the Facebook group. Thanks so much for joining us in the Facebook group. And of course, MRCTV.org. MRCTV.org, you still have an opportunity to donate and help the Media Research Center as it engages in the big struggle against leftist bias in the pop media. And of course, if you want to find me, I am on Gab at Gardner Goldsmith and on Twitter at Gard Goldsmith. For MRC TV, I'm Gardner Goldsmith.